Hello there and welcome. This is going to be a slightly different video to my norm. It's going to be a bit of a update on the channel, where I'm going to be going with it, and also just to show you around my new shed slash fish room. If you've been following me on Facebook, you may have noticed a few posts I did a while ago saying I've received my shed for my fish room, and since then I've been busy building it, and here she is, fully painted and weatherproof. But more importantly, inside I've been constructing a fish room slash boys shed slash tomato shed, workshop, and just general messing about. I suppose you'd call it a man cave, but I like to think of it more as a serious work shed, because I'm going to be using it as a studio as well for future videos and messing around with fish and all sorts of things. So firstly, I have lined it with polyboxes and this reflective material. It's very well insulated, and I can feel that now in the heat of the summer. I'm getting a bit roasty in here, so I've had to open some of the windows. Something else I need to do really is make windows that open without me having to dismantle them. Anyhow, also what I've been doing is cladding. So I've got some pallets from work and I've been chopping those up, and that's what I'm going to be using to basically line the inside. I think it can look quite rustic, maybe like an old battleship or something. And then the racking wise, as far as racking wise goes, this has been the major pain because I am not particularly good at DIY. Maybe I've put up a few shelves before, but that's about it really. Now the old adage of measure, was it 3 times and then cut once? Well, that is something you should definitely listen to, because I basically measured once and then had to cut 3 times. Especially on here, you can see my excellent screw work. That's basically because I didn't really think through the height of my racking. I've got a sump coming which is 4 foot long, 1 foot deep and a foot tall, and it's basically going to be going from here down to that end there. And originally the bottom of this tank was about here, and I mean, if you know water, it likes to go downhill. Well, it would have had to go uphill in this case to reach the sump, which was pretty bad design. So I've just had to redesign all of these racking, basically just move this up. I've got some struts along here so that I can hang lights from. Well, this racking as well was all constructed from an old pond, so the old timber ponds that slot together and make a hexagon. I've reclaimed one of those and made racking. I've made workbenches, all sorts of bits and pieces from them. So it's probably the most expensive racking you can get, because I think the pond was probably £1,000 when it was new, and now it's just an old bit of racking and workbench. But hey, it's recycling for you, and it's good quality timber. So how my system is going to work, basically I'm going to have my sump there, and then I'll put this beer down, and then through here I'm going to have my pump. So that's going to be the pump that I did a review on, the Amphibious IQ. I'm going to use that externally, so like a dry run, which you can do with those. That will have pipe work which goes up here, which will then split into a T here. So I'll have water going in at one end over there, and then at one end over there. It will flow through the system, and then there'll be an overflow here, which will then go down there, over to here with hard piping, flow down there, down the 25mm hole of an overflow again, and back into the sump by gravity. And then the whole system will turn over like that. And that'll be quite a low energy way of doing these systems. So I don't really want too much power running through this shed. So I think one pump moving water up and then having it gravity fed all the way back down would be quite an efficient way of doing it. But before I do any of that, I need to repair these tanks, because these tanks are old shop tanks, and shops don't give up tanks unless there's something wrong with them. And a couple of them are fine in terms of actually holding water. This one's fine. Anything wrong with this, it's got a broken bit of glass there. This one, however, is not fine. If you can see, there's a crack, and that's actually all the way down the panel. So this panel's actually broken. But what I'm going to do is, I've got an old 125, so I'm going to cut that down take the silicone apart, and then use the glass panels. If I have to cut them, I will, but I'm not particularly sure how to cut them. I bought a glass cutter, but I've never used one before, so that'll be an interesting experiment to see if I can actually cut glass without slicing myself open. What I need to do, as I said, put a panel there. I'm going to fill all of the big holes and just use the 25mm hole. So I'm going to cut a little panel of glass over there and just silicone that over that, and that should fill in. There's also this worrying crack here. You can hear that. That's not great, but it doesn't have too much movement. So I think what I'll just do is run some silicone all along here. Maybe put a bit of glass over that bit just to give it a bit more structural integrity, and then I'll just pray that it doesn't fall apart. Then I've got 2 more tanks which are currently sitting there, one of which I think's fine. The other one has actually got a corner missing, which is quite a significant thing to have missing, but I will attempt to fix that. Then once that's done, I will set up my RO unit, which I've just bought. Finer filters. This is a 75 gallon per day unit, 4-stage as well, so that will give me some good quality water. And I hook that to that blue mains pipe. That will then sit on the wall here, feed into the sump with a ball valve on it, so that it will auto top up, basically. That's what it will do. And then next to it here, I'm going to have a water butt, which I will then be able to divert some water from the RO unit with a little T valve and a tap, so I can make salt water for my water changes. So it'll be a nice little system going here. And I think off of this system, on the downpipe, what I'm going to do is have a T with a ball valve on it as well, which will then go to some hosing which goes outside, so I can use that as my sort of system drain. So as it pumps from the sump up, I can then take it out of the system so I can do my water changes, which seems like a sensible way of doing it to me, but I'm sure once I've got it going, I'll find many reasons why it was a bad idea. And then lighting. So lighting is an interesting one for this, because this system isn't for just keeping fish in, and it's not even for keeping corals in. This is going to be a macroalgae growing system, specifically for growing different types of macroalgae. The rarer the better, hopefully. So I'm going to do some green algae along the top, and then I'm going to have some reds in this tank, and then hopefully some other reds and browns and rarer ones in that corner there. So lighting for this is a little bit different. It's not your standard marine lighting. Well, it could be, but that's not what I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using lighting like this. So this is Kingbo. I actually just bought this today. It's literally out of the box. I've just set it up, growing my tomatoes because they're a little bit, well, a bit crap. I put them outside and they got burnt by the sun. And my banana plant. So they're going to live in here now with this light over the top of them for 12 hours, and I hopefully will get some tomatoes. But this particular company does little circular ones, brand new I think, 50 quid each, same spectrum as these with a little Cree white LED in the middle. So what I'm going to do is put one over each half of the tank, depending on the colour of algae. So I think the greens will like that, they'll like the reds, and they will like the blue, but the red algae and possibly the brown algae won't respond so much to the red, because I assume because they're red they don't use red. So with those I might have to tailor the lighting like in my other video where I've used sunlight colour, so 6500K, but that'll be an experiment. But I'll do videos on that and we can look at which light is best for different colour algae. I don't think anyone's done that. I don't know why, but I'm kind of getting into my algae. You may have noticed over the last couple of months I've been doing more and more algae videos, and it's just a subject that you don't see a lot of. Everyone does reefs, everyone does planted freshwater tanks. Very few people do macroalgae tanks, and it's just a very interesting subject. They're a bit different to plants, and it's just, I've caught the bug at the moment, so that's what I'm doing with this. If I get bored of it, I will change it over to something else, but for the minute, macroalgae is going in there. And then here is kind of free space. I'm going to be doing some clownfish breeding, or attempting to do some clownfish breeding. So I'm going to have maybe a 100-litre tank there with some clownfish breeding potentially. I want to do a terrarium. I'm just gonna, just give me a second, just getting a bit thirsty. Oops. Terrarium with another thing I've been interested in, carnivorous plants. So I bought some carnivorous plants. I can't remember the Latin names of these yet, that's how new I am to them, but they do like to eat horseflies, which is good. No, you can't see him, he's in there. Tried to bite me earlier. But yeah, carnivorous plant terrarium I think would be interesting. And then I've got some free space for other tanks. So it's going to be a fish room. More than half of it will be filled with fish, and it'll give me a place to do some interesting videos. So this probably brings me on to the part of the video where I talk about the channel going forward. So I'm going to stick to my sort of half-assed routine of doing maybe 2 or 3 videos a month. I'm not gonna start cracking out videos just for the sake of it, because a lot of channels do that. Trying to release quality videos but at a pace which I can handle, because I'm quite a busy person, and 2 to 3, maybe 4 if you're lucky a month is kind of where I'm aiming. But they're going to be on things that are interesting to me and hopefully interesting to you. But also I'm going to do some sort of more basic videos as well, because I've kind of gone off that. I think when I started the channel I was doing real basic videos, you know, how to do water changes and, you know, how to clean bogwood and stuff like that. These little tips which people need. So I'm going to try and do at least one of those kind of videos a month, but on a subject that I find interesting. So I'm not just going to make a boring video where I rattle through something just because I feel like I have to. It's going to be something that I want to share with you, and that's going to be the theme of the channel going forward. It's going to be stuff that I'm interested in, and that does include reviews of new products, because there are actually, I know of, quite a few cool new products that are coming out, and that about sums it up. So I hope that you're excited as I am about getting this thing done. I will be doing little mini videos updating this, so probably when I fix the glass I'll do a video, when I fit the RO unit and so on I'll do a little mini video just showing you how I'm progressing, and that'll be interesting for me and hopefully interesting for you. So thank you for watching and happy fish keeping.